Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of the BMW M podcast. It's great to be back and on video. Welcome back to you, DC.
Thank you, Nick, mate. Good to be here. We're finally out of isolation in Victoria and we're back in the office here at headquarters in Mulgrave.
And isn't it nice that from this episode we'll be doing more video and bringing some exclusive content to the viewers?
Correct. Well, that was the intention of the concept around the video cast, but unfortunately we had to do the first one from home. We didn't have the pleasure of each other's company and hence why it was the audio video cast. However, today's going to be a little bit different and we have a special guest.
We do. The M2 CS just arrived in the country, and we're pretty excited about showing everyone this new vehicle.
Spot on. Just a handful on the roads at the moment, and we're going to get a little bit more hands-on as far as the technical details of the car is concerned. So,
very good.
Nick, if you could entertain me.
My pleasure.
Carbon fibre bonnet.
Yes.
Not only does it look good, but there's obviously a specific reason for it.
50% lighter than the M2 competition bonnet.
Cool.
So that really contributes to handling, performance, and if we do the knock test, you can really tell that's carbon. It also has a pretty amazing appearance too.
It does, and it pays respect to, I guess, a lot of the methodology that BMW incorporate, where it's not just about bigger engines that deliver you the speed, it's also about aerodynamics, weight reduction, etc. Now, there's a lot going on underneath this bonnet. Now, it all looks really cool to me.
It does.
But there's a reason for a lot of this.
That's right. Maybe if we're still on the carbon theme and talking about the carbon strut brace, that contributes to front end rigidity and the way that the car turns in. Seriously impressive. But what about this engine, DC?
Yeah, really, really cool. Additional power, I understand.
Additional power, 29 kilowatts over the M2 competition.
Wow, which is huge because you're not only talking about additional power, but the amount of weight reduction that comes in from the carbon fibre and the interior trim, which we'll get to shortly, obviously gives you that additional speed from that 0 to 100.
It really does. Yeah, well, it drops times for both the manual and the MDCT.
So there you go.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing handling with the M suspension?
That's right, yes, which is something we can't show you in detail, but we can at least point out the strut towers of the new adaptive M suspension for M2 CS. So that provides drivers a new element of control for different scenarios, whether you're on the track or a B road.
Cool.
Yeah,
so multiple purpose, track, road, shopping, whatever you like.
Exactly.
Multi-purpose car.
That's right. Bread and milk run.
Bread and milk run, and the eggs. Don't forget the eggs. Now, what I really love about this car is the look of the front. So
incredible.
From a technical aspect again, front carbon splitter, which is not standard on your M2 competition.
That's right.
And the air intakes themselves.
Yes, exactly. So this carbon splitter provides additional downforce at the front end, and there's even details here, DC, where the air is channeled around. It's very motorsport driven.
That is really cool.
That detail.
It is really cool.
So it's the front end, very aggressive, but also functional.
I was just about to say, it is very functional. And then as we come across the side, love the black wheels.
Yes,
I'm a big fan. We've got the 19 inches with the cup tyres. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the V-spoke 19-inch alloy provides quite a menacing look. Doesn't it? But also quite a motorsport touch.
It does, yeah.
And Michelin Pilot Cup Sport 2, which are amazing in all weathers, but when they get warm up, the grip is superb.
Definitely agree. Now, as we come across the side, love these mirror caps.
Those mirrors are fantastic.
Again, we follow that carbon fibre theme, but just the look is amazing, isn't it?
The way that they've designed the shape of the mirror cap, not only carbon, but we've got the air
very
channel through
aerodynamic as well.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And it's a feature of M cars these days.
It is. Across all the M high-performance cars at the moment, it is a standard feature. Now, the other part I really like, probably one of my more favourite bits.
Yes.
The carbon fibre roof.
That's right.
Again, looks good.
Yes.
Serves a purpose as well, though,
it does. It uses a special sandwich construction.
Yep.
So not only does it provide an amazing look, but it lowers the centre of gravity of the car, so you're getting better handling, contributing to the superior balance of the car.
Yep.
So it really provides that elevated performance that M2 CS represents.
And again, as we talk about that weight reduction as well. Now, we're going to come across the back of the car and I'm starting to love the lines and the curves a little bit more as we get into some of the detail. Love those hips. We do like the wide hips. They're really, really cool. And it gives you that real masculine presence on the road, especially when you're looking at it from a rear detail point of view. Now, there's again a lot going on, which is different to your standard M2 competition. We're talking about gurney, we're talking about badging, quad exhaust pipes. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that detail?
Well, you mentioned the gurney flap. That's in full carbon as well.
Really cool.
Doesn't that really contribute to the look? But again, that's, as we were saying about the front, there's a downforce element here, so there's a functional aspect to that.
Again, it's all about function and not only the look of it, but the weight reduction, but more importantly, the function aspect of it.
Indeed. We've got unique badging here as well, CS.
Yeah, M2CS.
So if someone's behind you, they know that this is a serious bit of kit.
It's not just an add-on kit that someone's bought from an aftermarket or a performance parts shop. So
3-year development for this car, DC, to actually provide that final
because they've
product.
honed it in not only from a road perspective, but also incorporated the track side and the element side of that. Which we'll go into a little bit more detail when we talk to our special guests a little bit later on.
Yes, indeed.
Quad exhausts?
Yes, quad exhausts. And we've also got M engraving on them as well. So that's another nice touch that's unique to M2CS.
That is really cool.
And also DC, a carbon fibre diffuser. So it continues that theme, the use of composites across the car, which is lowering weight and contributing to the overall performance aspect.
It's funny because it was only a few years ago that carbon fibre got introduced to the BMW lineup, and now you see so much of the cars are made out of the carbon fibre element, which incorporates, again, back to that engineering and the whole performance side of the vehicle.
That's right.
Now, we're just going to go a little bit back into the interior, Nick.
Yes.
So we're going to open it up. So, Nick, we've got a lot going on again, interior-wise, manual transmission. Notice there's a console that's not there anymore. I'm sure there's a purpose for that.
Yes.
We've got the sports seats. Again, the carbon fibre element is following the interior of the car with the grab handles. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what's going on in there?
I think that interior just speaks motorsport.
It does.
Doesn't it?
It definitely does.
When you look at the Alcantara wheel, that just reminds me of a race car.
And it feels so good
when
you grab onto it, doesn't
Absolutely,
it? Really,
it really
really cool.
does. You know what you're getting into when you see the M2CS
Love
seal
the plates.
That's really impressive. These seats are incredible too, DC. We've got M2 badging, which is illuminated.
Extremely comfortable.
Yes.
All sizes.
And hollowed out in the centre for lowering weight. So
and yourself, I know, I mean, you're a tall guy, Nick. I'm a big guy. Extremely comfortable to drive. No issues getting in and out. And again, as a daily drive car, as a racetrack car on the weekend, you're going to have so much fun with these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, what's the purpose of, there's no console?
And also the carbon fibre.
The carbon fibre, Again, the Alcantara, I'm guessing that's all about the weight reduction.
It is, absolutely. The transmission tunnel completely in carbon fibre. It provides a pretty high-tech look when you get in, but it adds to the stiffness of the car.
It does.
It's giving you some pretty amazing performance potential.
It is.
And what about the manual transmission, DC? That BMW still offers a manual.
That a lot of the enthusiasts in Australia love. Probably not so big in other countries, but you can't go wrong here in Australia.
Absolutely.
We do love our manual transmissions when it comes to the sports cars.
And I think a lot of our customers will be interested in the manual.
Definitely, definitely.
So this is a 6-speed unit, and it also rev matches. So
that is cool.
You get a pretty evocative noise when you're down changing. It's really impressive.
Wow.
The other aspect too in the interior, DC, is the updated technology. So we've got Apple CarPlay.
Nice.
So you've not only got a performance car, but you've got good technology integration.
Doof music when you're going to do the eggs and the milk.
That's right.
Got it.
Yes.
Perfect. When you're going down Chapel Street.
Yeah,
Love
completely.
That.
Yes.
Nice.
And the carbon aspects continue here with these door pulls. Also looking pretty amazing.
They do. And it's a lovely little feature how they incorporate, again, the carbon from all the exterior features back into the interior. So really nice flow.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because if we look at the red stitching as well throughout the seats, and also on the door card.
Red calipers.
Again,
there's that follow through. It's not just some sort of systematic approach where they've just picked a colour for the interior trim.
There's a uniformity to it.
Correct. And it matches our tops.
It does. Yes.
Perfect. Now, Nick, thank you very much. A lot of technical detail there. You've missed your calling. You should be one of our product managers as well, as great as our team are back in the office. Now, we're going to cut over to an interview with 2 very special guests. But before we do that, we're going to show you a little clip about the M2CS and what it can do off the road.
Well, doesn't that footage get us excited about M2CS? And what a way to introduce our two very special guests to the BMW M podcast from Germany. We have Daniela Schmidt, who works in the customer racing division of BMW Motorsport with responsibility for M2CS racing, and Marcus Schroeder, the project manager of the BMW M2, including the M2CS. A very warm welcome to both of you, and thanks very much for taking the time to talk all things M2CS and M2CS racing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation.
Pleasure. Could I just ask firstly for you to provide some background information about your job at BMW, including your history there, starting with you, Marcus, please.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me as a guest. And as my friends and colleagues know, I'm a car guy since I was a small child. And to be honest, working for BMW M especially made me very proud in 2015 as I started there. And especially to have the chance to set up in this time the new M3 and 4, which recently just launched, was a great opportunity for myself. After that, I took over the responsibility for all M2 projects. So I'm more than happy to talk about the brand new M2CS with you today, which you have seen a few seconds ago.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Marcus. And to you, Daniela?
Yeah, also for me, I was a car guy or a car girl from very early up. I started go-karting myself when I was about 13 years old, and I went into proper racing with 16 years. And then it was clear for me that I also want to work in this environment. And I was first working for Alpina, also responsible then for the Australian market. And since 2017, I joined BMW Motorsport Customer Racing department to be part of the M2CS racing program. So I was there from the very beginning, making sure that we get the product right in the right direction with all the customer needs on the focus. And now this year we are happy to introduce the M2CS racing to the market.
Now that's a very full resume there, Daniela, so thank you very much for the update. As we go into our questions, Marcus, I'm going to start with yourself. When developing the M2CS, can you tell us a little bit about your key goals, and did some of the predecessors of M3CS and M4CS play a role?
Yeah, so the aim was to create a car which is very unique in its segment, which performs superbly on the racetrack, and at the same time has a high capability on B roads and as well on longer distances. So at the same time, giving the space for 4 people and the luggage, if needed, was something which the car has already, and so we wanted to create something very special, which is very unique in this segment, to have a very high performing car, and as well you have all-day usability still, and that was the main goal, to make from a performance point of view a better car than the M2 competition was already, be more precise, be more sporty, perform better on the racetrack, and as well keep the everyday usability of the car. And as you might understand, this is a very big challenge for a whole project team to achieve goals which are not always in the same direction.
So with that in mind, Marcus, as you said, raising the game from M2 competition must have been a big task. Did you have any benchmarks during development, either from an internal or competitor perspective? As in, did you drive other cars extensively or do a lot of research on other product?
Yeah, in the whole development process, we clearly focused on the M2CS, I have to say, and how to improve the M2 and M2 competition to the next level we wanted to reach. But generally, we do test internal cars as well as competitors, of course, to get an insight of what's going on. But within the development, especially of the M2CS, we clearly focused on our objectives we wanted to reach, raise the performance bar even further, and don't forget the everyday usability on the other side. Because what I have in mind is you want to drive with your car to, for example, a mountain pass or a racetrack, and play along maybe a few laps and drive home again. And that's for me the perfect everyday sports car in my eyes, to be able to do everything in one car.
Now, Marcus, this is the first time a manual transmission has been fitted to a CS model. Now, the enthusiasts down in Australia are all celebrating this. What was the reason for it, and is this something we can expect from future models?
Yeah, we generally have a high proportion of our M2 customers asking for a manual transmission. So if you are more focused on the lap time, you might opt for the MDCT. If you're more focused on the driving, involvement, the feeling you can get out of the car, you might want the manual transmission. So I couldn't say which gearbox is better. I think it's down to your personal preference and what the aim of the car is, what you really want to do with the car. As we started to think about which gearbox to fit for the M2 CS, because it's a very limited volume as well and a very special and unique car, we decided to leave it up for the customers to choose his favorite car. And that was the main reason we said, okay, we don't want to decide whether it's a manual or the MDCT gearbox, because both fit perfectly to the car. So we leave it up to the customer to really choose which one he wants to drive. And I think out of the last few months, we can clearly say that our customers appreciated that we left the choice to them and did this on a limited model as the M2 CS.
Well, we're all certainly very happy about having that choice, Marcus. I think it's a fantastic thing for enthusiasts. Just on transmissions, why did you opt for the MDCT when we see more M models moving to the M Steptronic transmission?
Yeah, I think it's straightforward, because all M2 models, and especially the M2 competition, which the M2 CS is clearly based on, with this powerful engine, is always linked to the MDCT gearbox. So we did not want to implement a new and different gearbox now to the car. Rather, we wanted to opt for the manual gearbox as a second gearbox choice for the customer and spend the money on having both gearboxes in the car. That's the main reason.
Now, Daniela, we want to start focusing a little bit on the racing aspect of it. Now, we also understand that the M2 CS and the M2 CS Racing were developed completely in alignment. Can you explain how BMW M and BMW Motorsport made this happen?
Yeah, this BMW M products are perfect basis for our race car divisions. And obviously, when we heard, okay, there's gonna be a M2 CS with a 450 horsepower, we said that's the perfect platform to build a proper race car on it. And so, for example, on the drivetrain, we didn't need to do anything. We just took over what we have already in the street car, and this is perfect. And for example, also in the 365 horsepower version that we are using in different cup classes, we are even using the standard brake system on the rear. So showing that what Marcus just said, the street car is already really performant and has his genes from the racetrack, and so it's really perfect to go side by side, and that's what we did with the M2 CS Racing.
So Daniela, you mentioned some of the key differences there between the road and the race car, but what, apart from those, the obvious aspects such as the roll cage and the motorsport fuel system, what are the other key points that separate the two vehicles?
Yeah, so when we are talking about a race car, obviously we always have to look additionally on the suspension, because especially with also the tires, the slick tires we're using on the car, and we can also get more stiff for driving on the racetrack with the suspension. So we introduce different tempers and springs, and also some links on the front axle, stuff like that. Parts were taken over from the M4 GT4 even. That's one major part of development when we are doing a race car based on a street car. Secondly, obviously the brake system, especially on the front, we're using a specific motorsport brake system. And when it comes to the brake system, we also have to adjust the assisting programs like the ABS and also the DSC. They were adjusted for the motorsport needs to allow these systems in combination with slick tires, but also with proper racing rain tires. And then when it comes to the interior, when you have a look at the pictures of the M2 CS Racing, you see the cockpit differs quite a lot also from the M2 CS, where we have a proper logger system in the car, allowing to analyze lap times, develop driving styles from driver to driver, and obviously also have all the main information needed for racing on a center display. And then also in the middle console, the main functions focused to the driver's point, so going a little bit closer to the driver, who is also sitting in a proper FIA homologated race seat. So everything focused here on the driver's side, and also on the steering wheel we have the main functions like radio, the indicators, flashlights, stuff like that, all located with buttons on the steering wheel, so that the driver doesn't need to take off his hands from the steering wheel while driving.
Daniela, is there a little bit of background to the actual M2CS Racing customer program that you can provide us?
Yeah, so in general, BMW Customer Racing has developed quite a lot in the last years. In 2014, we have launched the first entry-level race car from BMW Motorsport, which was the M235 iRacing, which is still very popular around the world. And the M2 CS Racing is the logic successor of this car. So we still want to offer a race car which allows people to take this step from going on the racetrack with the M2 CS street car, going the next step with the M2 CS Racing, and feel comfortable from the first minute onwards, because the next level would then be the M4 GT4, which is then already a more performant and also more aerodynamic kind of race car. But for this you also need to get more experience to feel comfortable in the car. So for us it was important that we have an entry-level race car where anybody can jump into it and feel comfortable and have fun with the car on the track from the first second.
Now, that's actually a good segue into my next question. Now, we know that your experience is second to none, and you've competed at very high levels of motorsport for a number of years, including many laps of the Nürburgring, Nordschleife. Does the experience play a role in the development of the M2 CS Racing and other race cars?
Yes, for sure, because obviously, as I had the possibility to experience everything on my own from the customer perspective, I would say, from the very entry-level race cars up to the M6 GT3 at the high-end GT racing level. I obviously could take this experience into the development of the M2 CS Racing, because I just know what is important for the drivers, but also for the teams to be able to use such a car successfully and develop yourself. And that's obviously much easier if you have been in this position on your own. And so especially also in the interior, the display and the steering wheel and the location of the buttons, that was quite a lot of experience from myself going into the decisions that were made there.
And Daniela, just on the M2 CS Racing customer program and where we will see it appear and race, there was some great news recently about the One Make Cup at the Nordschleife. What are the other plans for the M2 CS Racing and next year? And could we maybe see the car in Australia at some point?
Yeah, so the Nordschleife is our home turf, I would say. So obviously there was a focus always also during development to get this car on the Nordschleife and to make a One Make Cup there, where we can see a lot of cars competing against each other with very interesting races like we already had in the last years with the M235 iRacing. But there will also be One Make Cup classes and races all over the world. For example, we will be having these cars in the TC class in the US, also in the TC class in France. Then there will be a one-make cup in the Benelux area, so Belgium, Netherlands, over here in Europe. And then there are still talks going on also with local race organizers in which classes we can introduce the M2 CS racing. And it's not yet confirmed in which classes and platforms we will be having the M2 CS racing in Australia, but I'm pretty sure it's only a question of time until we see the cars there. And then obviously besides the pure racing aspect, we also did it this year already, that we have own BMW M track days where we give the possibility for interested customers to test drive the car, but also to just drive it for fun. So also here there will be a focus to extend the usage of the M2 CS racing also to the more club sport racing level. And I think with the 450 horsepower version, that's the perfect tool for such platforms.
Now, the Australian market's definitely a big advocate for racing cars, so we'll do whatever we can to make sure the M2 CS makes its way down. So thank you, Daniela. Now, Marcus, just quickly back to you. We understand the M2 CS is a very special carbon roof construction. Now, what does this do for the car?
Yeah, so aside the stunning look, it is very lightweight, but at the same time very stiff. And that was what we wanted to achieve with this carbon fiber sandwich roof construction we developed. So we achieved to increase the stiffness in the upper part of the car and reduce at the same time the weight there. And additionally, we are able to have a better dampening within the car. So for example, if it's raining, the raindrops are much quieter. But clearly, the main advantage is the rigidity you get in the roof area. And therefore in the whole car and in the whole body of the car. And this was one of the contributors to reach the next level of performance.
Marcus, just to that point about the amazing amount of details in this car, particularly with lightweight measures and carbon fibre, I think a feature of the interior and looking at it is the carbon fibre centred transmission tunnel. What do the weight savings in those key areas do for handling and balance, apart from what you've mentioned about the roof?
Yeah, so if you can reduce the weight in special areas of the car, the achievement can be bigger as the pure number of weight reduction might tell you. So a very common example is the unsprung mass for wheels or brakes, and a big weight and performance advantage if you opt, for example, for the ceramic brakes now on the M2 CS, which is clearly offered only on this model. And the weight saving from the rims are also very beneficial in regards to driving performance. So we said, okay, where do we have to make a weight reduction in the car to get the performance we want to have? And it was not only the aim to reach a certain number, 30 kilograms or something. It was the right places where we wanted to reduce the weight out of the car.
Now, Marcus, we also see the M2 CS fitted with adaptive M suspension for the first time in an M2. Was this to achieve optimal balance between track and road driving?
Yeah, it's definitely a contribution to have a wider range for the M2 CS, and you can choose the setup now which suits your need in your driving environment. So if you are on a rough B road, you might want a different setup as driving on, for example, the famous race circuit Hockenheim, which is very flat. On the other side, we improve the whole handling of the car together with all the measurements we strived already, like the carbon sandwich roof. But it's not an easy recipe to change only a few things. Change the suspension and you will have a better car. It's clearly the combination and as well the perfect mix of different changes which leads to a better driving performance. And to make only an example, we did change now our suspension, but we didn't change the suspension on the M2 competition. But clearly both cars have a better performance in driving as for example, the M2 had. So it's not always change the same things, but you have to choose what is really impacting on the things you want to reach. And it's a combination of different changes. And clearly the adaptive M suspension worked out very well on the M2CS now. And this is always the aim for us at BMW M, not only change something, make the whole car and the whole product what it should be.
Yeah, correct. And now, I mean, Marcus, you're aware we're obviously recording this segment, and it is something that's going to be made available to everyone globally. But we must ask you, any special projects that you can reveal to our listeners that you're currently working on? We promise we'll keep it a secret.
No. I'm working on a fascinating new M project currently, which I'm pretty sure will make our customers and fans very, very happy. But what it is, I might tell you the next time.
Excellent. All right, we're looking forward to it. Now, Daniela, how about you? 2021, focus on building the M2CS racing customer program, or what are your goals?
Yeah, for sure. So 21 is a big year for us with all the cup classes coming up and seeing the cars that we delivered to the customers already this year finally competing against each other. So this will be really huge, and we will see a lot of really nice racing. But obviously in our customer racing department, we are also looking ahead to the new products coming up, and 21 will also be focused on the M4 GT3, so our top level car, which is going into the final development phase in 21 and will be available then by end of 21 to the customers all around the world.
And I have to say, Marcus and Daniela, it's made me, and I'm probably the same, DC, definitely inspired us to get behind the wheel tonight of an M car. But thank you so much to both of you. This has been a really interesting chat, very insightful, and I think our listeners are going to love it. So much appreciated. And we actually hope to see you both in Australia in the near future driving M2s around a racetrack. I think that would probably be a great situation.
Thank you very much for having us as a guest.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to come to Australia.
Yes, definitely. We'll definitely look. Just make sure you bring that M2CS with you, Daniela, so we can have some fun.
I will.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate the time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Well, what a fascinating insight from Marcus and Daniela, DC. Wasn't that great?
Really, really cool information. I love that inside goss, and especially the little bit about the raindrops and how the carbon fibre roof makes it a lot quieter on the inside. Now, Nick, before we finish off, I need to just go over a couple of housekeeping topics. Firstly, our friends over at BMW Merchandising have been kind enough to provide us with some of the latest M gear, which we're currently wearing, as you can see, and is also on show across the national dealer network. It's available online, as you can see the link at the bottom of your screen, www.bmw.com.au. Now, head over to the services link to the toolbar and you will find the latest catalogue on show. I must say I'm particularly impressed with the designs this year. They continue on with the theme of motorsport. However, they also have the crossover element of where luxury meets M. Now, the quality of our cars, Nick, are second to none.
Really?
However, we must say that there's really cool stuff there for the family as well as friends. Business people, kids, perfect time as we head over into that Christmas period. So go and check out the latest gear online. Now, secondly, to anyone who has a question they would like to ask us on the show or our special guests, we have had a lot come through covering many different topics. Now, we will make every effort to answer as many questions as possible for our future shows. So please keep sending them through to podcast@bmw.com.au. Now, next month's episode will be a review of the year that was, being 2020, without the mention of COVID-19, hopefully, and we'll also have some other special guests. Now, thank you to all the fans who have been taking the time to listen to our podcast and provide positive feedback on our first episode. We all hope you enjoy the second one, and for all the future episodes, you will see them loaded on YouTube and the official BMW Instagram page. So please look us up and give us your feedback. On a final note, none of this would be possible without the support of our local marketing team. So thank you very much, guys. Our listeners, of course, and our friends at Das Media, who do such a great job in making us two guys look really, really good and sound a lot better than we do in real life.
Now, on a final note, DC,
yes.
Can I just mention something about the M2CS? We didn't say earlier when we did our walk around that there are actually a very limited number of vehicles still available for purchase, which is pretty exciting.
It is pretty cool, and don't forget it's a limited production globally. So be quick, Christmas is around the corner. We'll make a really cool Christmas present to somebody who needs to make up for a lot of bad things in 2020.
I actually look forward to that being on my driveway, courtesy of you, DC. Is that a possibility?
I hope your mum and dad love you enough, mate.
Thanks very much. See you next time.
See you guys.